Hi everyone, in this week's episode of I'll Try That podcast, we're going to be talking about Salt Beer Factory, and we're going to be talking about the highest pint prices in the UK. But first, let's just get into it. I'm trying a new thing.
Yeah, you're just getting all loose and flowing yourself in. I'm enjoying it. Go on then, Joe. Tell us about the dog, because that's the best thing, because sack beer off, learning about your dog is much more fun.
All right, Burnabout, as I dub him. So he's called Bernard, Bernie, Burnabout, Balbun. So those are all the nicknames we've got for him.
So that's a very long name. That's like Balbun, Bernie Bun, Banny Bad Bad. That's a very long name, that.
It's a bit of a tongue twister, I'll give you that. So there's a very recent story just springs to mind. We have in our apartment, we've got kind of an office space, which is our second bedroom. You know, we've got the kind of the main room going out into that has a hallway and has got bathroom. So I'm in the home office taking a work call, and things are a bit quiet outside. Now when things go quiet, stuff's happening. Either he's fast asleep, but he's usually asleep on the sofa next to me, or something's happening. So I go out and I find that Bernie has tried to recreate the Andrex tissue paper advert. So you know the one that I'm talking about. It's a very cute golden Labrador, kind of puppy, and the tissue paper, is kind of on really on the top of the stairs or whatever. It's there, and it gets rolled very gently, and it unravels, and you can see this, the tissue paper being, paired with a puppy, and it's all very cute. What I came out to was not that. What I came out to into the living room was a tissue paper massacre. So, there was just tissue paper strewn everywhere. Bernie's got this habit now of, if the bathroom door is left open, he knows where the tissue paper is, and he just goes beeline for it and grabs it and then just rolls it around and rips it all up and everything. So anyway, I came out of a work call to this situation, had to make my excuses for why I couldn't finish the work call in order to calm Bernie down and get all of the tissue paper before Liz came back from her run and noticed that there was a new tissue paper, all over strewn over the floor. So long and short of it, Bernie is providing ample amounts of entertainment during this third lockdown. He's been doing lots of great walks out in Battersea Park, meeting other dogs, and doing a lot of lead training, and overall just being a bundle of joy and energy.
So just to clarify, did you open up to Liz about this debacle, or have you hid it from her and now she's unaware of such incidents?
Oh, I think the first time she'll hear about it is during this podcast when she listens back to it.
Simo, didn't your parents have a problem with you in toilet paper in similar sort of situations? You'd just trash the place.
How has this happened?
Actually, I think, if I remember correctly, Rich, I think it was mostly because he just didn't use it and used his hand or something.
Why is this happening? How is this flipped into bullying me again?
Something a little bit unrelated but related at the same time. Simo, didn't your dad used to put you in the downstairs toilet when you came back from the pub?
No, I put myself there. To be fair, though, I lived in a super tall, thin house.
Right, let's, I think without further ado, more embarrassment of Simo, let's jump into the hot topic. So, Rich, you are going to tell us about the highest beer prices in the UK. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, so we spoke about this on one of our first podcasts. We talked about the average price of pints of beer all over the UK. So that was London, of course, came out as the most expensive, and of course up north was considerably cheaper than that. But this is actually the most expensive pint anywhere in the UK, so it's just how much it costs, sort of thing. Okay, so it's a stout which is made in California by San Diego-based AleSmith Brewing Company, and it contains Blue Mountain coffee from Hawaii, as well as other expensive ingredients that gives it a black, thick, syrupy consistency and coffee flavoured taste. Okay, but how much do you think it costs for a pint of this?
Well, no, hang on. Is it actually a pint? Because it sounds like it comes from San Diego, so it'll be they don't do pints over there in the States.
So it's sold in a British pub and it is a pint.
Right, so it's an American beer sold in pint form in the UK. So we're doing this in pounds sterling, are we?
Yeah, in pounds sterling. I'll give you a few more facts to get along with it. It's 12%. The beer itself, okay? So how much is this pint?
Does the beer say it's meant to be paired with anything? I want to really get into it before we think about the occasion of drinking this beer.
It's paired with a bar stool in a pub, Joe.
Great, you've already sold it to me. I'll pay loads of money for that. Well, actually, right now, I probably would pay a lot of money just to sit in a pub with people and drink a beer. Like I think we're all missing that quite a lot with this lockdown.
So it's based in London, of course, in a place called the Craft Beer Company.
So, I mean, when you go to Twickers, like, I know it's like £6 for a standard pint. I'm going to say it's probably... I'm going to go with a tenner, a flat tenner.
Okay. Joe?
I think for a 12%, I think you're going to get... I think it's only going to be about £7, $7.50 maximum.
Okay. Well, you're both wrong. It is £22.50 for a pint.
What does this thing do? Does it give you wings? Does it turn you into Darth Vader?
I mean, at 12%, it pretty much does give you wings, doesn't it?
Yeah. They sell it as it's important, the UK, and to showcase some extremely rare and unusual beers. That's one of their selling points.
Yeah, I get it. There are people out there. I do think that people are interested in this kind of stuff. You know, what's not off the beaten track? What are other people not having? And to say that you've had it, you know. But 22 sounds like £22, which is about $27, is quite steep for a single beer, for a pint of beer. But then it wasn't actually that long ago, Rich, or was it similar, where you told us about the highest ABV beer that was in a very small tincture, and that was like whiskey prices. That was like 50 quid or something.
Yeah, I think it was like £45 for a bottle of that, which is so I can see why people... You look how much money spend on champagne and stuff like that, the amount they spend on bottles of wine. Why can't there be a beer at a similar sort of price range?
Well, I'm pleased that you said that, because it's all about the commodity status. Champagne is not, although it's readily available in most places, it's not a commodity because it's still very much localized from the Champagne region, I should say. Whereas beer, like, it's everywhere else. It's so much more of a commodity. So it's all about the value perception. Like, it's available.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't pay gold prices for rice, would you? But if you're in a country where you don't have as much rice, but you have lots of gold, then you probably would put that value at a bit higher on the rice. It's about supply and demand. So if beer is as available as it is, then you're not going to get anywhere near the prices of champagne for it, just because of what it is. Sorry to completely poo-poo that, but I just thought it was good to give that context.
Good to give us a lesson.
Perspective.
Guys, if you're not learning every day, what are you doing?
Every day's a school day.
Literally for some. No comment.
Simo, maybe you can whip that out in your next lesson.
Yeah. Kids! I know we're supposed to be learning about the bones and of the body, but...
Yeah. Isn't Simo a PE teacher?
Yes, I do science. Human biology, human psychology, all that jazz.
I do feel like, though, that school, they are missing a trick here. They could be telling more about the difference between beer and champagne. You know, these are things that need to be taught in schools.
So if they want to binge drink on the weekend, that they know how to. Oh, great, yeah.
Simo, you should raid this.
No, I feel like the education side of things, if they know more about it, they're less likely to.
No, they're just more likely to figure out how to do it more efficiently. They're going to go, oh, so that one's cheaper and it's more alcoholic. That sounds like a great idea.
I'm going to move us on to the pursuit of hoppiness.
Right. So, pursuit of hoppiness this week, we're going to be talking about Salt Beer Factory. Now, Simo, have you got a bit about where Salt Beer Factory are located and what they're about?
Drabble, do you know where they are?
Yes, Salt Beer Factory is located just outside Bradford, I do believe. I'm looking at it on the map here. There's Bradford. They're fairly new on the scene. They seem to start brewing back in 2018, which isn't that long ago in the grand scheme of things, but they seem to have kind of like boomed onto the scene, have just gone from strength to strength. And they've got a fairly successful brewery. So
the great thing, I think, what's interesting about Salt, because Salt as a name for a brewery doesn't sound that appetizing. You know, you don't want a salty beer. You don't want a beer that's going to be salty. But it seems like the actual name of Salt comes from where it's located in Bradford, or the village outside, because it's from a village called Saltaire.
Which is a World Heritage Village, supposedly.
There you go. So it's a very picturesque place that they've created this. So I think that's quite interesting in itself. That is, they've named themselves after where they're from.
So supposedly, it was also this is like a planned project. So this wasn't like someone just like owning a pub and then brewing it in the back. It sounds like they spent 3 years like in development. So it was a really thought of process before it kicked off in 2018. Which I think we've talked about a few companies doing that now, haven't we? That they've kind of actually planned. It's been quite a big planning process rather than it wasn't kind of just a random like, oh, we like beer.
Wasn't it Jaipur that they seem to come from a fairly well marketed and well built place fairly quickly as well, weren't they?
Yeah, there was quite a lot of investment behind it, weren't there, with Jaipur?
So it wasn't like Northern Monk where they just kind of started off in their mum's basement brewing beer, then delivering it in the back of the car. Salt seems to have had a bit of investment, and they're brought. They work out of a Grade 2 listed building, which a lot of breweries seem to do. Work out of Grade 2 listed buildings, which I'm sure has its complications. But looking at the pictures and stuff of the venue, looks like they're trying to turn it into. They want to turn it into like an experience, so you can go there, see the brewery, and taste the beers, and it looks like they have big parties and like concerts going on there and stuff.
I have a feeling that because they're Grade 2 listed, a lot of people wouldn't buy them because you can't change the outside, whilst I guess breweries just want to change the inside, and they'll go for like that cool aesthetic you were talking about, and it's like a selling point, isn't it? A little bit, as you said, like, and they can use it as a venue, so it's like multi-purpose, isn't it?
Yeah, I think on that multi-purpose sim, it seems like they've newly created brewery, but they've had it in mind where it's the 360 brand experience, from the creation of the beer itself through to, what people are interacting and inviting people when we can go and see the brewery. What is that experience? And it's thought of right from the very start with this building and with the beer manufacturing. And I think that's just great because people want to be involved and want to be, see what your brand is doing and experience it in that way. Obviously right now, they aren't having people looking around the beer factory. They've taken to doing a lot of YouTube doing a lot of like video virtual tours, and they put them online. So one that I just saw was the beer factory tour at night, which was fascinating. It looked like a rave was going on, while they were kind of like traveling around, showing all the different pumps, like showing how things are working, walking around the beer factory itself. It was, really cool. I mean, I actually just quite like, just on that sim, you could definitely jump in a second, but I just love that they call it a beer factory rather than like it's a brewery, or the fact that it's like a beer company. Like they're calling themselves a beer factory. There's something about that just is really northern, but it's also like, it's fantastic at the same time.
I mean, I really wanted to just mention their purpose. So they've got this on their website. And I think it's just a really, like, the first sentence is just amazing. Is our purpose is to create pleasure through beer. This is why we exist. And I just think that's such a cool line. Just like the idea of that is like, and they say like, and I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but on the can, it actually says standing on the shoulder of giants. So they want to unify the heritage of modern breweries. And I just think it's really cool. Like they're just going for these amazing statements. I think really like claw you into like their ideology and like what they're all about.
So when did you guys first become aware of Salt?
Through Beer 52, I think, or like those kind of websites where they're like eclectic kind of rare beers that you don't see everywhere. And they're always advertised as like, Salt's like an option on there. I've never seen it. Like readily available in a lot of supermarkets.
So my one was that it was when you told me to look for it, Joe, for the podcast, and I thought and you said you might struggle to find this, but I was pleasantly surprised. I managed to find it in Sainsbury's fairly quickly, which was a bonus. Which they actually had it on the wall and was easy to pull. But yeah, I've never tried it before.
I'm pleased that both of you have said that, because like that's exactly how like that's the dichotomy with Salt, with a new emerging company, is that where do you find them from? From like a Beer 52, a Beer Hawk, like an artisanal craft beer website, or do you find it on, or is it available on shelves in like your local supermarket and then you can just go get it? So the salt that I know of is exactly the same way that you found it, Simo, from, Beer 52 and knowing, following industry news and seeing what's happening. And these guys are making a bit of a name for themselves. They've won a few awards as well. So, they were kind of got on my radar that way. But they had actually got listed in Sainsbury's, in Tesco's. They actually won Tesco's entrepreneurial award. It's specifically called the prestigious Tesco Incubator Program. And they have now been listed in Tesco's, which is our biggest retailer, supermarket chain in the UK, since December 2020. So it's only very recently that they've got into that kind of mainstream side. But that's where they've gone and they've excelled. I'm sure they've got even more, sales, way more sales now. They're actually listed in the likes of Tesco's, but, they offer the same as, through the Beer 52s, the Beer Hawks, selling in that way. You sell direct through the website as well, but getting listed on a retail side on supermarket is a big, big deal.
I kind of noticed that we've all got different colours, which means we've all got a different type of salt beer today. Now, I've got the gloriously named Alpaca Ddh Ipa. Now, it's tropical, 6.6% ABV, bitter. Now, I tell you something. I love this crap. This is amazing. This tastes so good. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. It's like fruity and it's got that bitter aftertaste. Oh, mate, this is banging.
That's great. So it's like a new take on a bitter. So before you do yours, Rich, because I think you've got a tall can like Simo's is. So I've got the Bonneville salt. And you might recognize the name Bonneville as the Bonneville salt plains in Utah. That's where they do all the world's fastest car records and everything like that. And this is a zesty pale ale at 4% ABV. So definitely, down from your 6.6 that you have there, Sim. It's very hazy. It's very drinkable. It's very fruity as well, exactly as we were expecting from these craft IPAs and these craft pale ales, sorry, I should say. And it's delicious. Really a big fan of this Bonneville salt.
So I've got another one. So I've got the Tram Ddh Ipa, which comes in at 8%. In a big boy can like this as well. So that's a tall boy. And I'm not normally a fan of a strong alcohol, like a strong beer when it's coming up into 8% and stuff like that. This is fantastic. I can't get over how it doesn't. It describes it as juicy and smooth, and it is both of those things. It's got to be. It's up there with one of the nicest beers I think I've tried in a long time.
I've got so on the side of the cans, boys, I'm not sure if you have it, but they have a definition thing that goes up the side. So on mine says alpaca, and it tells you how to pronounce it, and it says number 1, a soft, durable, luxurious and silky natural fibre harvested from an alpaca. I then have, now I found out what the DDH stands for. So the DDH is a double dry hopped IPA. Up front tropical flavours, well balanced, dry, bitter finish. So that's what mine one says.
Now, Rich, you said yours is a Neipa, isn't it? Neipa.
Yeah.
Neipa. A Neipa is actually originally comes from New England, America.
Yeah.
That's kind of, it's a yes and no kind of situation in that it kind of is a style that kind of got very popular from New England, but actually it's from, other places like in Vermont as well. And it's really introduced about that kind of hopped up hazy IPAs is really where this kind of popularity comes around. But what's interesting about it is it's not actually an IPA.
Oh, okay.
While a regular old IPA is clear orange gold in appearance, piney and citrusy on the nose, and bitter in the flavour, Neipas are unfiltered, murky and yellow. They smell like a fruit basket and have almost no perceptible bitterness.
Yes.
Is that what you're tasting?
All
there,
of those things. It is. And then if that's the description for a Neipa, they have hit the nail on the head. It's exactly what it says on the tin. It's amazing.
You're like giddy, Drabwell. You're literally giddy. This is hilarious.
You don't understand how good this is. I can't stress how tasty Tram Ddh Ipa from Salt is. It's fantastic. And it's so strong at 8%. It shouldn't be this easy to drink. It's going down like fruit juice. It's ridiculous. You boys have got to get on this. I could go on, and look at the colour. Look at that. It tastes amazing. Okay. Wow.
Joe, what about you? What about your beer? You haven't even gone into yours yet.
I don't know how to follow that. I mean, I'm just making a kind of comment about yours, because both of your beers are mine is kind of like the one on the left field. Mine's like the cousin that's kind of out there, that's like not really part of the crew. But you two are definitely I'm maybe like a second cousin with this Bonneville like pale ale. But I think you two are close cousins in that you are the IPA to the Neipa. You are basically a filtered to the non-filtered, or unfiltered, I should say, like versions of these beers. So the fact that both of you are finding these really, really tasty. I mean, you, Simo, just absolutely crushing on that bitterness and how they've done the bitterness in that. And it sounds like a very fruity.
Oh, yeah. Just the fact that it just comes through. So, like, you get like the sweetness of the tropical straight away. Oh, mate, it's cracking. I'm not going to lie. I'm always a bit like, do you know when you've never heard of the brewery, and then you're a bit like, oh, is it just someone trying to join in on the party? But this is just brilliant. I really like it.
So I'd say, so we know what Rich feels like about his Neipa. Simo, that's a great sum up of your IPA. You're pleasantly surprised with this new beer that you haven't had from a new brewery. I would say with this Bonneville, it is a very palatable pale ale. You know, it does exactly as it says on the tin and what you expect. It's 4%. It's session ale territory. It's fruity. It's got that kind of citrusy zest. So you're getting that kind of like quite dryness coming through as well on it. I wouldn't say I'm blown away with it in that sense, but maybe that's just because it's a 4% session pale ale. But I would say like some other pale ales and the kind of session ales that are out there, like the Sierra Nevada, some of the Frontiers that are out there, those are mind-blowing session ales, 4%, 4.2% ales. Whereas this one is a very palatable, very nice, I'm not going to kick this one out of bed.
One thing I really like as well is the design. Like I think they're supposed to be, is it supposed to be like what it looked like under a microscope, what salt looks like? Is that what it's supposed to be?
So this is basically.
You're the teacher.
If you look the hexagonals, that's exactly what they're trying to go for with this graphic design. That the hexagonals all across is meant to represent, kind of like dried salt. When salt dries out on, from the sea or whatever it might be, like the crystallized versions. But like, obviously a graphical representation is not meant to be very literal in that sense. But it's nice, isn't it? Like they've gone with a full color behind each one of the cans, but with all of them having this kind of black line drawing of the salt, of the kind of the salt graphic. But then if you look down, and that's kind of happening on their core range cans and on their kind of, regular seasonal ones. But if you look down, they have a whole new section of beers called the Hexagon Project. Don't know if you've seen those on their website. And basically what they've done is it's a very like dark and moody version of the normal cans. So they've reversed out the color. So, the whole can is black, but they've put these hexagonals in gold instead. And it looks really sexy, just with a pop of color on, like, to try and differentiate the little bits of the projects.
Have you seen though? They're all like double the price of the others, and they're all like 11%. So they're all really, that Hexagon project, all like, they're between 12 and 10%.
Boys, can I just jump in and say, I'm not the biggest fan of the design.
Ooh, okay, go for it. Why?
I'm going to throw it out there. I think it looks a bit like an energy drink. It's fine. I'm just not the biggest fan. I think it looks a bit like an energy drink. And I think when I first picked up the can and when I first started looking at it, I was like, this looks like an energy drink. The only reason I don't know it's an energy drink from first glance is because I'm buying it in the beer section. And I was specifically looking for it. But that's my view on it. I think they could maybe make it slightly more mature. I think there could be something a bit more, something a little bit more about it.
No, I'm with you. This breaks like kind of a lot of category cues because, again, it's a craft beer, so they're trying to do something a bit different. But yeah, the reason why this stands out is because it's just got that pop of colour, but it doesn't really look like a beer in all that stretch. It could even be like a honey-based product. These could be hexagons from a beer, from a beehive, in that sense. So it is quite abstract, that kind of link of salt, of the hexagons.
That was what I jumped to when I looked to it.
And I just think they could do a little bit more with the roundel. What they've got the logo in is they were called a roundel. So it's like a circle, obviously, base white color, and then they've got these 3 dots underneath, and I've honestly got no idea what those dots mean.
I mean, for me, I look at this and I think, well, it's something different. And I think because they're new, that it's a 2018 beer company, they're trying to be a bit different. I mean, if you look at something like Beavertown, which is absolutely bonkers on their can, I mean, that's not necessarily mature, is it? And I was just thinking, like, I'm just playing devil's advocate. I mean, there's nothing wrong with maybe mixing up what a beer looks like, or mixing up what kind of you see as a beer in terms of, like, yes, obviously it's bright, shiny colours, but that kind of is appealing. I'm
with you, Stim. I think, and that's what we're showing with the whole beer category in general, is that there aren't really any traditional beer category codes that the craft brewers are trying to stick with. I mean, obviously, like having the ABV percentage on there, having a name descriptor, these are all mandatory stuff, and having things in the background. But this category is ripe for disruption, and when it comes to, category codes and design. Maybe what Rich is trying to get to is the fact that it's not that exciting. Like, I like the uniformed approach across the range. For me, as someone who works, who enjoys branding, I like that unified feel across the portfolio and the range, because just from color, like, these are different products. But at the same time, that's not massively exciting. To say to someone, "Oh, I like the way that it's written across you can navigate the portfolio." You're not going to sell more beers just because, like, people are going to go, "Oh, I like how they've navigated that range portfolio." But what you want is something that does that, but is also very exciting to the eye and it is interesting to people.
Do you think they're trying to look towards people who are younger? As in, because you talked about it's like a link to like energy drinks, and that's like a younger generation thing. Do you think they're trying to target maybe 20 to 30s, like, rather than?
In general, I don't want to. Obviously, it's going to be maybe me generalising a bit too much, but in general, new craft beers, new craft IPAs are drunk by the younger generation. They're drunk by people in their 30s and 20s. It's because we've been brought up with it a little bit more. The craft scene has exploded since we've been allowed to drink at 18 and stuff like that. I can remember we were very limited at 18 from what the variety of alcohol and beers that were out there. But give it another, 5, 6 years down the line, it's just exploded to what it is. And I think this is definitely marketed at us. This is definitely marketed at the bright colours. It's nice. It's a simple design. It's a good design, but it is eye-catching at the same time. I'm not taking that away from it. And the best thing is that the quality of their product is speaking for them as well. So they've caught me. I've drunk it. I've tasted it. I'm 100% going to be drinking this again because of how good it actually is. And well, you heard my rave reviews a few minutes back, sort of thing. I haven't drunk something this nice in a long time, sort of thing, since we did.
I just wish it was more accessible. Like, it took me five supermarkets.
Yeah, I wish it was it. I wish it was at the local pub. I wish it was more readily available. I wish it was on tap and stuff like that. And I don't have to go to some obscure craft brewery specific pub to go and do it.
I mean, guys, it's happening. It's happening. The fact that they are off premise in major supermarkets like Sainsbury's and Tesco's, and they've just got there. December 2020, they got into Tesco's. Like, it will be on premise as soon as pubs and things start opening again. You can probably start to see Salt a lot more readily available. Like, it's only going to go up from
excited.
Here, and Salt is going to be one of those beers that you're going to be a lot more readily available. And the fact that the products are superb, I think, is only going to see even more growth for them. We across the board, when we've tried 3 different Salt products right now in this podcast, and I would say each one of them is definitely worth a try. I mean, the DDH IPA sounds like it's a fantastic. I want to try that bitterness. A bitterness from an IPA, that fantastic. If that's done well, is very unusual. And then this Neipa, I mean, Rich, you've just gone off on one in this podcast about how great that is. Like, and you have finished that beer in such a quick time. This bodes really well for the start of this recording session that you've just had an 8% right at the very start. Right, let's do the numbers. Let's get through this. Let's do the number bits. Right, so Instagram, they have 16,000 followers. Exactly. They've done a really good job with that. 16,000 followers in a very short period of time. And then on Twitter, they've got 3,500 followers. Again, Twitter's very much more than informational, like kind of checking with news. But yeah, I think across the board, rave reviews for Salt. Definitely, if you can get your hands on it, which should become more readily available over 2021 into 2022, definitely try a Salt product. I think that's right now we're excited to try even more of the range, and we didn't even get through that. But there is already a wide variety of products in the Salt product range. We've just looked at 3, but they have seasonal beers. They have this Hexagon project, which is definitely worth trying out. By the looks of it, it looks really intriguing.
It's a shame that we have to revisit them then. Oh damn.
I'm not gonna lie, boys. When we can finally travel and get places, I think a road trip to the Salt brewing factory would be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, you two should do that. That would be great.
We will.
Come on, Rich. Don't rub salt in the wounds for Simo. And that's all we have time for this week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast. And so from me, Joe,
Rich,
and Simo,
goodbye. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter,
and watch us on YouTube.
Goodbye now. Always drink responsibly, and if you or anyone else needs some help, go to drinkaware.co.uk for more information.